What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Chris Palmer and today we're talking 10 tips for Lightroom that you should be doing right now that'll instantly speed up your productivity. So let's go ahead and get into it. Tip number one is organizing and rating your photos. Now, whenever you're done taking pictures of your family dog or your kids, the family barbecue, or even working with a client, you need to figure out what photos do I not want? What photos do I want? Now I need to flag my favorite photos to make sure that I edit those photos in the future instead of having to scroll through hundreds, thousands of photos to get to the ones that you really wanted to edit. Now the best way to do this is to press 1 through 5 to give your photos a certain rating. So in Lightroom, you come in and taking a look at your images and you give it a 1-star or a 3-star image. And then you get the little star right down here in the bottom. Come over to the next. Oh, that's kind of cool. Come to the next, give it a 3-star, 4-star, or even if you really, really like it, give it a 5-star. Now, I personally, what I do is I go through the first time around, I give it 1 to 5 stars. And then when I get those all labeled out, what I'll do is I will kind of shuffle through them even more. It just makes it so much easier for you to narrow down the photos that you really want to edit. And after you're done with your ratings from 1 to 5 stars, if you prefer, you can have a color-coded system. If you're more of a visual person and you want to see colors and not stars, you can come over into Lightroom and then you can press the buttons 6 through 9. So 6 gives it one color, 7 gives it another, 8 gives you a green, and then 9 gives you a blue. If you want to be able to view the files that you want, oh, I like these, I like the reds, or I like the yellows, or I prefer the blues, you can shuffle through all your photos in that way if that's what you want. So inevitably, you're going to come across a photo in all of the hundreds that you've taken, and you're going to be like, ooh, that's really out of focus. Oh yeah, I really messed up on that one. Just press the X button and it rejects the photo. Now it also, in your little strip here, or even in your library, it will dull it out, make it a little bit faded to where you know that photo is rejected. Now, on the opposite end of that, if you really like the photo, you can press P. And now the P will flag that photo as a pick. And if you change your mind, you can always press U and unpick that photo. Now, once I'm done rating my photos, I actually edit those photos. And then once I'm done editing, I will use the P tool just to pick my favorites. Now that's it for number 1. Let's move on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is auto white balance. Now, when you first start editing your photos, you're more than likely going to start with the white balance. You want to make it a little bit warm, or you want to make your photo just feel a little bit cold. That's where you start. So you come into your white balance panel in Lightroom, and then you'll notice it says as shot. Now, as shot means that is exactly how it is inside the camera, and then it's being brought into Lightroom with this white balance. Now, you click here on as shot, and you can come over to auto, and it'll give you a different tone, or daylight, or cloudy, or shade. You have all these other ones as well, and you can also customize your own white balance. Now, if you want to have a little bit more control over how it is that it looks, you can come over here to your eyedropper or press the W key for as a shortcut, and then come and click in the little areas, and it will correct the white balance for you as well. Now, the rule of thumb is to go to one of the widest areas that you can find, and then it will correct it for you in the best possible way. But again, it's just up to your own personal preference. Now, moving on to tip number 3. So tip number 3 is what we're going to call double tap to auto tone. Now, just like with white balance, you can press the auto button and Lightroom will adjust your photo to give you a little bit more of a well-balanced histogram. It'll bring down the highlights, it'll bring up the shadows, it might bring down the exposure or even bring up the exposure, depending on what it is that your image looks like. Now, in the tone panel, you press the auto button, you see how it's adjusted here. Now, if we undo that, and you come and press Shift, double click, you can change the attributes individually. However, it will be the same as if you pressed auto, but it gives you just that much more control. Tip number 4 is reset. Now this is piggybacking off of tip number 3. When you're editing your photos and you sit back and you look at it and you're like, ooh, I've gone a little bit too far. So you get that slider and you kind of move it over just a little bit and you're like, a little bit too far. Just right there. You can't get it right. Just come over to your attribute, double click on it, sends it right back to 0. And that's it for tip number 4. Tip number 5 is adjustment filters. Now you have the graduated filter and you also have the radial filter, and I use them on every single one of my photos. So let's take a look at this photo of my dog who's obviously not happy about me taking this picture. You come up to the histogram and look right below it. Here's the radial filter. Here's the graduated filter. If we click on the graduated filter, bring it down. You can adjust the exposure however you want. But the cool thing is what I really want to show you is press the O button and then you can actually see the mask itself. Now, if we go over to the radial filter, draw that out. Just a little bit. Give him just a little bit of a vignette. Bring that in, maybe adjust it just a little bit more. You can also invert that, which will darken the inside of it. You can feather it in really far, or you could take away the feather completely. And then all you have to do is come over to feather, double tap it, takes it right back to default. So tip number 6 is clipping. So when you're looking at your photo, you really can't tell whether or not the whites of the image are completely blown out or the blacks of your image are just completely crushed and completely devoid of color. So if you press the J button on your keyboard, come over to your blacks and then move them all the way over, and then it turns blue, so you know you've gone way too far. So you can adjust them just enough to where they start to disappear. And then also with the whites, if you crank them up all the way, it's going to turn red. So you can bring them down until they all disappear. And now you know that all the whites and all the blacks are perfect in your image. Moving on to the next tip. So tip number 7 is leveling out your crops. Okay, so nothing says amateur photographer more than having your horizon just a little bit off. You know, you're looking at that image and you're like, something about it's just a little weird. It seems like the world's just a little bit off its axis and super easy to fix. Go over to your crop tool or press R and then start trying to adjust your horizon line. You just kind of want to make it, you know, just as straight as you can. Now you can get it as pretty darn close just by kind of adjusting your crop tool. However, if you can't, come over to the little angle. Click on the angle, go to your horizon, draw a straight line right across the horizon, and bam. Perfect every time. Next tip. All right, so tip number 8 is turning out the lights. So you're done editing your photo, you want to see what it looks like without all of this stuff around it, all of the Lightroom panels and everything else. All you have to do is just press L. It darkens the background. You can press L again and it completely darkens out the background. And something else really cool is if you come over and you want to crop your image, see how I've already cropped mine. What I can do is I can press L again, lights out, boom, and then start cropping it. And it basically gives me a better representation of what it's going to look like when my photo's cropped. So that's lights out. Moving on to tip number 9. Tip number 9, before and after. Now there's 2 different ways to do this. One, you can come down to this little area here. You got the 2 Ys right here. Press the button. You get your before on the left-hand side, you get the right on the right-hand side. Now you can shuffle through a few different options to tell where you've changed your edits or if you've gone too far, but my favorite is if you press the backslash key. Before, after. Super easy. You don't have to fiddle with a whole bunch of panels. You can if you want, but the backward slash is so much easier. Okay, the final tip that I have for you today is survey mode. I love this mode. I just found out about it a few months ago and I've been using it ever since. What it does is it kind of displays images for you so that you can see if all your travel photos have the same edit on it, or all the photos that you're wanting to use on Instagram are all going to be cohesive and they're all going to look really, really nice together. Or if you have a client and they're like, hey, I want to make sure that the story flows very nicely through all the images that you're going to be giving to us. So what you need to do is go in, click on the images that you want to take a look at, and press the N button. It makes life so much easier. And you can also, press the L button and it turns the lights out. So it allows you to be able to see it without any distractions. You can dive into your images, you can analyze, make sure everything looks the way that you want it to look. It has helped me out on so many different occasions. Now, if you want, what you can do is come through here, click the little X button. You're like, they don't work, I don't like them. I think I'm just gonna stick with these 4. There you can. If you're like, nope, I just want to do with 3, you can do that. And then all you have to do to go back to your library is come down to your little grid view, and then there you go. All right, that's it. That's all I've got for you guys today. So if you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Also subscribe if you're not already, and then hit the bell so that you get notified whenever I post new videos. Now, if there is a tip that you want to share that I didn't cover, please leave it in the comments below. It'll be awesome. So I guess I will see you in the next video. Oh my God, the light continues to change. Chipotle. Ugh. Doesn't taste good the second time around. Note to self, do not eat Chipotle before you start a YouTube tutorial. No. Bad idea.